What's going on YouTube? SRT Dad. And do you have an overheating issue with your Charger or Challenger or any Hemi for that matter? You're gonna want to watch this video. Let's get into this banger. Let's go. Alright guys, so here we have a 6.1 Hemi, okay? Now if you're having overheating issues, the first thing you want to check if there's any leaks coming from the radiator, anything on the ground. Obviously, I do not have that. The next thing you want to check is how much coolant you have. And my coolant tank here, this reservoir tank, is kind of dirty, but you can see it's about right here, right below the maximum cold fill line. What cold fill means, it means when the engine is cold, that's where you fill the coolant to. If you go overboard on it, it will spill out when the car warms up, because it needs this extra space. When the coolant heats up, it'll use up that space, and if you go over that line, it'll most likely spill out from the top here. Now, as far as coolants go, you want to make sure also, if you do top off your coolant, that you are using the correct coolant for your car. And there is universal coolants that you can use. Just make sure that your car is on there. I think my 6.1 uses the Hope technology, which I believe all the Hemis do. Now, so you can see, so my coolant's fine, but I did have overheating issues on my car. Let me further elaborate on that. Now guys, if your engine is overheating, it's most likely gonna be extremely simple fix. What you're most likely gonna need is a thermostat, and here I have the Mishimoto 179-degree thermostat, guys. So let me go ahead and explain exactly what these things do. All right, guys. So every Hemi or every car has a thermostat. Our Hemis usually have it here where this radiator hose is here, this coolant hose, I mean, and the thermostat's in here. Okay, it's really easy to replace it. All you gotta do is take these two bolts out, and it'll pop right out. The thermostat will look just like this, okay? So all you do is pull it out and put in the new thermostat. And when you do that, all you need to make sure is, see this little hole right here, this bleeder hole? You need to make sure it's pointing up. So see how I'm holding it here? This hole needs to be pointing up towards the water pump here, guys. That way it can bleed the air out as you turn it on after you replace it. I recommend before you take this hose out, you put a little bag to catch the coolant. You don't want the coolant getting on your alternator or on your belts, because it's gonna wear them out faster. So I recommend you do that. Also guys, before you put in your new your new thermostat, before you put in your new thermostat, you want to make sure the car's cooled down. So when I swapped it out, what I did, I didn't do it till the next day, so I just left the car overnight. The next morning, I swapped it out. But after you swap it out, like I said, just make sure that hole is pointing up. Okay, that's extremely important, because if it's pointing down, it won't release any air pockets that's still left in the coolant system. Okay, but there's still one more step that's extremely important after you swap the thermostat. Before I get into that though, like I said, I did go with the Mishimoto thermostat. This is kind of what the box looks like. It says 179-degree Fahrenheit thermostat, and it does live up to its name. They're commonly known as a 180 T-stat, but this actually will keep the car at 179 depending on how hot or cold it is outside, guys. But if you want to just swap it out with the OEM thermostat, just try to get one that's not cheap, because they tend to go out quick if you go the cheap route. But the stock thermostats, I think there are 203 thermostats. So like I told you guys before, this car, I was having overheating issues after I got it back from SRT Auto Works. It was reading, temperatures as high as freaking 100 or 230, 235 degrees, and I was tripping out. And it just kept getting hotter over time. It was, at that 180 mark, and it just kept getting hotter and hotter. And yes, the temperature was warming up outside, but it shouldn't be getting to 230 degrees. Anyways, this car is cammed. It has SRT Max Plus cam. It has long tube headers it has Cook's long tube headers, and it has a high flow and exhaust system. It is catted right now, has high flow cats on it right now, but like I said, I was getting temperatures as high as 235 degrees, guys, and I was tripping out. But I did have the feeling it was the thermostat, and it turns out it was. They swapped it out for me, started getting hot again, and then I freaking went back to a stock 203 degree thermostat, and that was working for a little while, and then that thermostat ended up going bad too, which is crazy. It was terrible bad luck for me. But I've had this one on for about, I'd say, a month and a half now, and it hasn't failed me yet. Hopefully it doesn't. This one costs $50. The OEM thermostat I went with was one from O'Reilly's, and it cost like $25, guys, and it only lasted me like 3 weeks and it went bad. So hopefully this one holds up. It's $50. I'll make sure I put a link for it. I'll put it on my Amazon storefront as well, guys. But let's go ahead and let's start the car, and let's see how the thermostat holds up. We'll go for a little drive too, so you guys kind of see the temperatures I get around here. All right, guys, got the GoPro on now. We'll go for a little drive. We'll go ahead and start the car up. It's probably gonna be warm because I went for a drive like about half hour ago. So here it is. Let's go see what temperatures we got right now. All right, sorry for the mess in the car, guys. Right now we're at 158 degrees, so we'll kind of let the car run for a little bit and see if it stays at that 180 mark right now. So we're gonna let it warm up. We'll let it warm up and see what it gets to. Let's pop the hood. You can hear it chopping. Like I said, it is cam. You hear it chopping. Pop this hood open again. Alright, there we go. So one way to check that your thermostat's working once it does warm up, the temperature's supposed to warm up, it has to be really hot. Mine isn't hot yet because the thermostat hasn't opened up because it hasn't reached 180 degrees yet. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Alright, we're at 176 now, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and switch to my phone because I don't think the GoPro can really catch the, well, actually, yeah, I can catch the readings here. So we're at 177 now. 179, there it is. 181, all right. See if it's gonna stay or if it's gonna go higher. I think it's about 90 degrees out here today. I think it's 89, 90 degrees. 183, all right. 181, 183, there it is. Sticking around that temperature, 181. There it is, 181, guys. So let's go ahead and we'll mount the GoPro. We'll go for a little drive here and see what kind of temps we get. We'll go ahead and close this hood. Alright, guys, we'll go for a little drive here. Got the windows down. And right now we're at 183 degrees. I don't know if you can see it on the dashboard or not, but I doubt it because the camera's kind of far. We're at 186 right now. $190 right now, guys. So 188 going down now. Little pool there, holding that 188 right now. Put the windows up so you guys can hear me better. I got the windows up now, guys. I'm gonna turn the AC on. Not full blast, 'cause I don't want to make too much noise, but got the AC on. Right now we're at 186. Hopefully the camera's holding up good here, guys. I don't really have a good mounting point on my hat here because it's kind of loose, but hopefully it's holding up good. Of course, going speed limit around here, guys. Construction, gotta slow it down here. I am a law-abiding citizen, believe it or not. Again, sorry if the camera's a little crooked. I think it's a little crooked, but I'm gonna have to roll with it, guys. Crazy thing, I went to, like I said, I drove the car earlier. I went to pick up some pizza, and some freaking guy had a 50th anniversary Scat Pack Challenger wide body, and he's a freaking delivery driver. I took a couple pictures with his car just so you guys can see, but I'll put it on the screen here. But yeah, it's crazy. Hopefully, maybe I can make a video with him later on, feature his car, because he is local to me. You can see the temps right now, 186, guys. Like I said, Mishimoto, I believe it's called, 180-degree thermostat, holding at about 186. I think the temperature right now is just under 90 degrees, which is actually a pretty cool day where I live here. So let's go ahead, let's pull over here. Let's give you guys a few more tips about these thermostat installs, because there's one thing, like I said, there's one thing that you really have to make sure you do after you install one of these. All right, guys, like I said, there is one thing you need to do after you replace the thermostat. Now that's going to be to bleed out the coolant. So let's go ahead, let's pop the hood, and let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. All right, guys, so let me show you what I'm talking about here. So like I said, we need to make sure we bleed out the coolant, right? There is a bleeder screw that's right here. You need to pull this screw out after you change the thermostat. You need to pull it out and make sure that the coolant shoots out of there, but it needs to shoot out at a steady rate, not like in gulps. It needs to come out all in one steady flow. Now, if your screw is jacked up and your bolt's like it rounded it and you can't pull it out anymore, there is another screw you can get out to bleed the coolant, and it's this screw here. This is your temperature sensor, I believe, and this screw, if you just pull that out, you can get the coolant out of there too, as well, to bleed the coolant out, or bleed the air out of the coolant. You got to make sure it's the same thing. It's got to be a healthy, steady flow. Now, let's say this screw you can't get out, and for whatever reason you can't get this screw out either. There's another technique you can do, but it's going to take, I'd say, a few days. So you want to have the cap off and turn the car on, turn the heater on, and let it run. Now, while you're doing that, because my hose is freaking hot right now, but squeeze the hose. You squeeze it with the car running and the radiator cap popped off, and just squeeze it. You squeeze it, and now get the air out of the system, guys. Okay? So like I said, you squeeze that hose, you have the cap off, run the heater on, let the car just warm up to its operating temperature. And like I said, it'll get that air out. And you might even hear gurgling or bubbles coming out, or, you know, air bubbles seeping out of the radiator cap. Or not the cap, but, you know, the reservoir. Now you do that, right? You put the cap back on, you close the hood, go for a drive. Go for a nice little drive. You come back home, let the car cool down. Do it again. Do it like 5, 6, 7 times, guys. Because what happened with me, I replaced my my thermostat, and it was still kind of little warmer than I liked it, and I was pretty sure there was still air in it, air pockets in the system. And I didn't have the correct bolt to take the Allen bolt to take that bleeder screw out. So I was doing that, and I did it for like a week. And finally it got to the temperatures that I felt it needed to be at, that 180, 190 mark. And it started working. And then finally I got the freaking screw, and guess what? I got the bleeder screw out and it came out flowing right off the bat because there wasn't any air in the system anymore. I had got it all out. So it is possible to, you know, bleed out the system without a without the Allen bolt to take that bleeder screw out. So yeah. And there is a machine, I think, that you put on the radiator cap. I'll make sure, I forgot what it's called. I'll put it on the screen here, and I'll add it to my Amazon store as well. And that just takes all the air out instantly. It's what the mechanics at the shops use. But anyways, guys, now the thermostat is not a guarantee fix for, you know, an overheating engine. But if you do have like an inconsistency in your temperature gauge, where it's like sometimes it's at that 210 mark that it should be at, and then it's going up to like 220, 230, and it's not even hot outside or anything, then yeah, you most likely have a thermostat issue. Sometimes they don't open up all the way. Sometimes they stay shut closed. When they stay shut closed, that's when they get dangerous, because now your engine will overheat, and you do not want to let it get to that 260 mark. Your engine will melt. You know what I mean? So you want to make sure, you know, if you start seeing that thermostat go up, or that your thermostat gauge on your car go up, and it's going up steadily, you better turn your car off and just let it cool down and see what's up, see if you have any coolant leaking or anything. But the thermostat usually is the #1 reason your Hemi is overheating, guys. And that's considering that, you know, your radiator works, your water pump's working fine, and anything in the cooling system is working fine. Usually the problem is the thermostat, guys. That was the issue with me. Now let's talk a little bit about the 6.1 Hemi, because they like to heat soak, guys. Our freaking aluminum intakes that we have, they soak up heat in the summer. So what I noticed, you know, if I'm at like at a red, not at a red light, if I'm like at a drive-through, and it's, you know, 110 plus degrees outside, guys, I was getting up to almost, I was like 215, 220. And then when I drive off, you know, it cooled back down to under 100, like 197 I had to get around. And even on the highways out here in Arizona, they get pretty hot. And I was, you know, 205, 210 on the highway, guys. And like I said, if I'm just there sitting, letting the engine run, like at a drive-through, it would start heating up quite a bit. And yes, I do have long tube headers, and like I said, the aluminum intakes on these 6.1 Hemis do not help. Even when I told SRT Autoworks that it was getting over 210 to 220, they're like, hey, you know what? That's kind of normal with the 6.1 Hemis. They like to run really hot. And I even looked it up on the Dodge forums, guys. SRT, they made the 6.1 Hemis just, they made them able to run extremely hot. Like, we're talking like, I'm talking about technicians saying that 230 degrees is normal, which is crazy, which, you know, that's still, I would not recommend you let your Hemi run that hot. I think the best mod for these 6.1 Hemis is a 180 degree thermostat, just to keep them cooler, because at the end of the day, we know that cooler engines means more power, guys. Anyways, I hope this video helped. I'm SRT Dad, guys. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments section. If I missed something about these thermostats, like I said, you guys have a question about or have knowledge about, please hit the comment section. If it's something knowledgeable that I didn't mention, I'll make sure to pin it on the comments, guys. Anyways, that's gonna be all for today. I'm SRT Dad, guys. I hope you guys have a great day. I'm out.